Let me introduce you to the Halo AR dry glove inners from Fourth Element. And today we are going to answer the question, are these the dry glove inners that I've been searching for cold water diving? Advanced thermal technology, check. Extreme thermal protection, check. Optimized for horizontal trim. I mean, that's a core skill, so check. All of this without compromising mobility or adding extra bulk. Now we're starting to sound a bit crazy. And guess what? They are going to go head to head versus a $3 pair of cotton cheapies from the local dollar store. Those gloves the other day bought me about 35 minutes of dive time underneath the St. Lawrence in 3C water until the hands decided to pull the dive chute. So you got to think, for $140 Canadian, the AR should have no problem crushing the $3 cheapies. We're going to build that Liberty CCR behind us this morning. We're going to head back to the St. Lawrence this afternoon and find out, do the Halo ARs live up to the cold water hype? I'm Diver Dave. I've still got that coffee, and you know we're about to get into it. Let's go. It's time to head out to the St. Lawrence and test out the Halo ARs, but first, we got to head in and build out a CCR. Oh, nice and warm in here. And I know I've had a few questions on this, so I figured I'd take a moment and show the podcast setup. CCR all built, and we are ready to head to the St. Lawrence. Welcome to Centeen Park, Canada's first underwater sculpture park, where today we take those Halo AR dry gloves and put them to the cold water test. I can't wait. You know, while we're walking down here to the water's edge, we should probably give a shout out to folks like Stephen Hatch, and of course the dive wizard Steph Senecal, and Save Ontario Shipwrecks Thousand Islands chapter for building this amazing playground. Like I said, Canada's first underwater sculpture park. And it just goes to show that if you build it, they will come. And this is a pretty popular site for diving. And by the way, if you haven't dove here yet, what are you waiting for? Let's go. It is a beautiful late afternoon here in Brockville, Ontario. Curious if you've got these. Would love to hear some comments and feedback, but I'm about to find out for myself. Stay tuned. Well, now that we broke the seal, let's see how they actually fit inside my drug glove. Initial thoughts is they're probably going to be fairly bulky. It's a lot tighter than the cotton gloves, there's no doubt. But that's the sacrifice that you have to do. But is it workable? I think it's going to be workable. So we're going to give it a try. Okay, pre-breathe is done. And now we put the gloves on and give them a try. It certainly feels like I'm wearing a lot of glove. I mean, if my hands get cold with these things on, I'm telling you, I don't know what to say. Typically for me, because it's the beginning of the season and the water is extremely cold, these dives are what I tend to call shakedown dives. Very conservative, staying within the park limits, and sort of just working through any skills that might have got a bit rusty over the course of the off season. And somehow I always tend to find myself back at this bench working through some buoyancy skills. Today, unfortunately, I realized at this point that my left glove was leaking and my left hand was starting to get cold pretty quickly. And so I decided, hey, you know what? Let's end the dive, head on back. There's always another day. All right. Well, I mean, with every dive, you always have to anticipate that Murphy might join your dive. And now there's a pinhole right in the top of my left thumb, which was starting to allow a little bit of water in and making my left hand very cold and starting to seep up my left arm. So decided to call the dive right around 28 minutes. Definitely everything's wet and my entire undershirt on the bottom is also wet. So I guess I'm gonna have to patch that pinhole. Now we pack up and we debrief in the dive lab once we get home. Well, I mean, we had big plans, with the key word being had. It was a glorious day. The sun was shining. The visibility was great. I had the brand new Halo AR gloves to sort of help protect my hands. And I was like, okay, for me, as long as this fancy technology holds up to the hype, easy hour dive for sure. And not too long after that, Murphy decided to be my dive buddy. He actually did not care that I was trying to shoot a 613 dive video, and he actually didn't care that I was trying to test out these new fancy AR gloves. Once I did all my pre-checks in water, made my way down the slope, hit the practice platform, I was like, you know what? Certainly feel the added bulk of the gloves. Let me work through a bunch of CCR drills to make sure that I can operate everything sort of safely. Took me a minute probably to sort of adjust to the dexterity, because there's definitely less dexterity with the thicker gloves. But after a while, I started to get back to the hang of it, and that was pretty good. Decided to get into some stage drills, taking my left stage on and off, as I would always do, because I'm a little rusty with that, not having dove for a while. And I think on the last time when I was putting it back on the lower D-ring, I think I pinched with the single ender the tip of my left glove. And so I didn't notice it at the time, but I thought, hey, let's work my way over to the buoyancy bench and start to work through some buoyancy skills. And just when I got to the bench, I thought I felt a little bit of a pinhole sort of cold sensation at the tip of my thumb. We were probably at the 20-minute mark by then, but I'll tell you, after about 3 or 4 minutes, that all seeped through the glove and started to go up the arm, and it didn't really take long for the left arm to start becoming a bit painful in terms of the cold water exposure. So at that point, I was like, man, I really wanted to get a long video in here, but at the same time, I was like, but what's the point? And so decided to call the dive and head on back to shore. That's the bad news. The good news is, at no point during that dive was my right hand cold at all. I wouldn't say it was warm, but it certainly was not cold. A few days before, with the cotton gloves, right around the 25-minute mark, both hands were starting to sort of give the warning signs. And I was like, all right, I'm going to push it, but I've only got so much longer. So like I said, while the left hand was toast because of the leaky dry glove, the right hand was not cold at all after 25 minutes, and I'm pretty sure I could have extended that dive for quite a bit before the hand started to take a beating. Okay, here are my observations on the Fourth Element Halo AR dry glove inners. Number 1, shout out to Canada Diving Supply for actually having the Halo AR gloves in stock with my size, which was large. And by the way, Steven, I got the last pair. Always great to make an impulse dive buy. Those are kind of fun. And even better, I get to support a local dive shop. So that's pretty cool. Number 2, I've seen a few comments about folks talking about the cost of these gloves, and at $140 Canadian, I agree, they're not that cheap. But this is cold water diving, and when you consider all of the other gear that I'm wearing to make a cold water dive happen, honestly, $140, as long as it's worth it and it keeps my hands warm, I don't really have a problem with it. So yes, cost is high, but welcome to diving. Number 3, dexterity and bulk. And this is where I think the Fourth Element marketing goes a little bit sideways, because these gloves absolutely add bulk inside your dry gloves. I mean, there is just no way around it. You want dexterity, you got to rock a thinner glove. You want warmer hands, well, now you got to add some thickness to the gloves. It just is what it is. I mean, unless you want to go full heated system with lined gloves and all that stuff, and by the way, that's not cheap, this is just a solution that you probably need to put up with. Putting the gloves on was a bit of a tight fit to get them inside the Scuba system, but they did fit, and once everything was on, it wasn't as bad as it sounds. Initially, I was like, this might be a bit painful, but you know what? After a few minutes in the water, things started to adjust, and I started to figure out, oh, my finger is actually here now and not here. It actually wasn't too bad. Like I said, I spent the first few minutes manipulating my CCR and all of the controls and the menus, and then worked through some stage drills. And after that, I think I was like, you know what? I kind of adjusted, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. So, yes, added bulk. Yes, loss of dexterity, but at the same time, for me, it was workable. One thing to keep in mind, I dive dry gloves all year round, so I'm already very comfortable using a dry glove system. And the reason I dive it all year round is because back in the day when I first started diving dry gloves, I actually hated them. And I thought, you know what? The only way to really get good and comfortable using dry gloves is just to use them all the time. And so it's probably been 3 or 4 years now, and using dry gloves is kind of my de facto standard. But if you're not used to wearing dry gloves and you go right into dry gloves, cold water diving with the added bulk of using these type of gloves, that might be a factor that you may want to consider. Okay, a few areas that I noticed right away because of the added bulk and the loss of dexterity. Getting the fins on and getting your finger through the loop to pull the strap, usually never an issue, but today because of the added bulk of having larger fingers, that was a little bit of a pain in the ass to do, getting ready to get in the water. We obviously made it happen, but it did take a minute to sort of sort through that. Equalizing and clearing the ears. On the CCR, it's pretty typical for the diver to actually use both thumbs to pinch their nose to clear their ears. And on this particular case going down the slope, it took me a moment to figure out, oh, I have to actually adjust the amount of pressure I'm using because of the added thickness on the thumbs. So something to keep in mind there. I wasn't actually expecting that. Working through my stage drills. Typically, as a CCR diver, you want to be able to comfortably remove your stage on and off and sort of manipulate all of that. Getting my finger, because the finger again is thicker, of getting it through the loop of the single ender was certainly a bit harder, and it took a moment to adjust. We eventually got it, but I'll tell you, on the first few tries, it definitely took a moment to figure that out. The GoPro, operating the GoPro underwater because of the tiny buttons was definitely a little bit more challenging. So all of these things that we didn't kind of expect and that we're kind of comfortable doing all became a little bit harder. Overall, I did not mind the added bulk or the loss of dexterity. I feel like it just makes me a better diver. As long as it didn't make me unsafe, which it didn't, I was still able to operate my CCR and do all my drills. So for me, it took me a minute to adjust, but after that, it wasn't too bad. And by the way, if I've got thinner glove liners and yet my hands are now starting to get cold, well, I'm losing dexterity anyway. So I would rather have warm hands and loss of dexterity versus cold hands and still loss of dexterity. Final verdict on the fourth element Halo AR gloves. Well, honestly, I feel like they did live up to the cold water hype. They kept my right hand warm for the entire dive, which previously, that right hand was in pain. Yes, we had a leaky left glove, but that is of no fault of the actual Halo AR gloves. So, would I buy them? Absolutely yes, I did buy them, and now they are going to become part of my cold water diving kit. If you own a pair of the Halo AR gloves, I would love to see some comments and feedback on what your experience has been like diving with them. And I'll ask the question, do you love them or do you hate them? So here we are, once again, at the end of a 613 dive video. If you think the content is delivering, hit the subscribe button because I'm going to continue to make more. And of course, drop a comment. Let me know some feedback. I'd love to hear from you. It's the only way as a small YouTube channel we can battle the YouTube algorithm. And I wanted to take a moment to say thank you to all the new subscribers. Our channel is slowly starting to grow, and so for that, it is much appreciated. I'm Diver Dave. Practice hard. Dive safe. Take care. Let's do a quick camera check. Look at that. And camera checks out. Once I did all my pre-checks in water, made wipe, I've got someone messaging me on Facebook. We're struggling with this one. Overall. It's an easy word. Overall. So why, it's just overall. I'm trying to concentrate, read the notes, and then I got YouTube going on. Camera check was blurry. Wow. I'm struggling right now. It's a little bit later. I'm tired from the dive. Trying to get through this, get the video done. All right, let's try it again. Final verdict. I'm laughing because I got about 42 bloopers before this. Is it this way? Where the hell is it? There we go. Because we're not there yet. The words are there, but they're not in the right order. It's like, see, you got to check these damn cameras, man. I mean, I've been burned before. It's like, I shoot this and then I come back and look at the timeline and the damn thing's blurry and then it's over. You got to reshoot the damn thing. It's like the jigsaw puzzle on the table and we're still trying to find the corners so we can work our way in. I just turned the glove inside out and filled it with water, and then I started to take a look and see what the leak was. And you can see from there, you can see that the pinhole's circled. So I'll put a bit of Aquaseal on that, and that should get it back to normal. I essentially turned... What camera am I talking to right now? I got this and I got that. Like, pick a camera. You're in between.